So welcome back. Now, county assemblies and the Salaries and Remuneration Commission have been on a collision course lately. The assemblies earlier on suspended sittings indefinitely, demanding for more salaries. On the other hand, SRC chairperson Sarah Serem remains unpopular as she has been criticized for a planned fresh job evaluation to start this month to identify factors affecting productivity in the counties. Now, according to Serem, a salary review will happen only after the job evaluation. Now, we want to find out the perspective from the county assemblies. Where do they stand? To tell us more about that is Dr. Noor Nasir Abdi, who is a speaker at Tana County and also chairman of the County Assemblies Forum. Welcome to the Power Breakfast Show.
Thank you.
Perhaps you could just tell us a bit about the genesis. What are the issues at hand?
The issues are very simple. First, but Johnson, before I go on, I think I wanted to pass my condolences to Kenyans. Although I've done it in other fora. But I think the country is facing hard times on the security fronts. And I hope we get over this. And my condolences to the families and to the general public. So if I go back to the issues as of now, are very simple. We think, and it happens to be the reality, that the remuneration as set for the county assembly members is one that does not befit the work that they ought to perform. And basically what we asked the Salaries Commission is that they didn't do fairness in terms of whatever setting and capping of salaries they did, and that they did not go as per the Constitution. Because even as SRC were given the mandate to set salaries, they were given such mandate within a framework. They were given such mandate on some principles that they ought to consider. And we have the feeling that they erred on those principles. And after our engagement with the Salaries Commission, sometimes in April, May, when the first, you call it go-slow, we say the first adjournment happened, we had a promise from SRC that they would right the situation and that they needed about 3 months to do whatever they thought was a job re-evaluation and come up with a conclusive set of how they can engage the county assemblies. On that benefit of doubt we gave SRC, we requested the assemblies, who had a very poor morale then, and even at the crunch of maybe county governments failing because it was towards approaching the end of budget time, county assemblies resumed their sitting. But again, come the deadline which SRC had set, we had nothing on the table. Only after reaching out to SRC and asking them how far they had gone, they had to tell us they hadn't even started, and they were just beginning, because of some perceived, according to them, procurement hiccups and the like, which again, indeed, they should have communicated in advance if SRC are out to do what they are paid by the public to do. So we thought on the part of SRC they weren't genuine. They were only buying time and trying to keep county assemblies waiting. And we think if county governments are to survive and devolution is to be set on a pedestal that this country should be proud of, then county assemblies should be at the apex of the consideration in terms of every front, and that county assembly members have to be remunerated well, they have to have that morale, they have to be given a pay that befits whatever job they do. Right. That is the crux of the matter.
So what does that mean when you say to be remunerated in proportion to the work that you do? Tell us a bit about that demand. What are you demanding?
Let me, I think we gave a proposal to SRC, and many a times we avoided even taking this into public, because at least we thought we wanted to do things on a professional basis. But I think of late SRC have tried to intimidate county assemblies by going to the press and trying to rally the public against. But I think we have a genuine cause. For one, if you look at the guidelines, the principles that upon which salaries should be set in Article 230 of the Constitution, the Salaries Commission have tried to fix in on only one subset, I mean sub-article of the Article 230, is at sub-article 5, Section A, that talks about the compensation bill, the total public compensation bill that ought to be manageable. But again, the same sub-article 5 goes ahead in sections, subsections B and C and D, and there is an issue of fairness and transparency that ought to be there. There is that issue that the public service is supposed to attract and retain qualified skills that are supposed to perform those functions, and there is that pay that should be a reward towards productivity. So when you look at the job of a county assembly member, it is basically the work of a member of parliament. They do oversight as much as the National Assembly members and senators
at a reduced scale.
Should I say at a reduced scale, but at a different level of government? That is how I would want to say, because there is no lesser government. You have the national government, they perform their functions in respect of the national government.
Well, but the areas they represent, that's what I mean by at a smaller scale. That county, member of parliament's area comprises of several counties, county wards. So you escalated that way in terms of scope.
If I was to look at that aspect, because I think it's one of the issues we thought maybe the Salaries Commission had considered.
Yes.
Then the pay that is given to a senator and that given to a member of a National Assembly member should be different, because a member of National Assembly represents a constituency, whilst a senator represents maybe 6 or even 7 constituencies. Why did the Salaries Commission think of giving an equal pay for senators and the National Assembly members? Basically, it wasn't about the area they represent. It was about the job that they do. And if that was the basis, then it is the issue of representation that county assembly members do. It's the issue of legislation at the county government that they do. It's the issue of oversight that they do at the same level. So why that difference where you pay a county assembly member 79,000 and pay a National Assembly member or a senator 532,000, 7 times difference? What is the consideration that SRC looked at? And that is what they were unable to explain to us.
Yeah.
Because we need an explanation.
Okay. What is your proposal? Because you say the SRC has gone to the public to try and intimidate the county reps assemblies. But what is your proposal? What are you expecting in terms of the remuneration?
Makadi, I think we did an analysis.
Yes.
And what SRC had told us in one of our sittings was that they began with setting the pay of the president, who happens to be the chief executive officer of the whole nation, and that every other body was looked up in respect of the president. And what we proposed to SRC is, if you looked at that comparison, let's compare what pay a member of parliament gets in respect, in relation to the president's pay, because that is the chief of the executive head and the whole government, and that the member of parliament are now the constituent parties within the National Assembly and the Senate who are supposed to oversight that body. And we looked at the ratio. And we came and looked at the governor's pay. And that is how reasonable we were.
Yes.
And we looked at now the county assembly members in respect of the governor, not in respect of the president, because we thought maybe this should cascade down.
Yes, yes.
And we said, if you are paying this percentage to the members of parliament in respect of the president, then give that equal percentage to the county assembly member in respect of the governor, who would now happen to be the president at the county level.
Okay, good rationale.
And we asked for 275,000 for county assembly members.
Okay.
That is the pay we requested for. And Makadi, I think if I take you back, this is not an entirely different set of consideration that we would look at. If you look at what SRC had set as salaries before we went to elections for county assembly members, an amount that was also carried in the Appropriations Act that was done by the National Assembly then before the elections.
Yes.
They had set the member of county assembly salary at 300,000. The same pay that was expected by
people would argue that people would argue that of course there are added responsibilities of legislative nature to the current county reps, but people would say when people were running, that argument is always floated. When you were running for office, what was the provision at that point? Was it the money that you are talking about, 300,000, or was it pegged to the previous councillors' remuneration?
It wasn't, because I think the pay was made open and it was known. that was at 300,000 shillings.
It was known?
It was known. It was public. It was within a document that was law. That is the Appropriations Act.
Okay.
Yeah.
There is the argument that if you pay that amount of money to, how many county reps are there in the whole country?
Look at an average of 2,000 as of now.
2,000,
yeah.
You know, and you're looking at the constitutional provision for manageable wage bill,
yeah.
Salaries, remuneration package.
Sure.
If SRC is saying that that bill will be too huge, aren't you sympathetic to that argument that perhaps the country is overburdened by a huge remuneration?
We are sympathetic, but you know, one thing we are saying is you would not want to punish one sector of the public or one sector of the public service on the wage bill issue. We are asking for issues of fairness. If there has to be that consideration on wage bill, let it be fair. Let it be because it's not entirely the county assembly members who are ballooning the wage bill. It's everybody.
Yes.
So if we have to manage it, we have to manage it consistently. We have to manage it on an average basis. We would not want to take it out of context in such a manner that we are so simplistic to think of, okay, county assembly members number 2,000.
Right.
It's the public wish. It was Kenyans' wish. And by the way, the 2,000 number is way below what were there as councillors before.
Yes.
Because the wards were merged.
Yes.
The county assembly members now, you know, man a bigger area than a councillor was.
But you
and with
appreciate,
added responsibility.
but Dr. Nu, you also appreciate that the previous councillors earned very little, right?
They didn't, because even some of them within the townships were earning 60,000, 70,000. As currently a county assembly member is paid 47,000 shillings basic pay, and then a lump sum of some house allowance and every other allowance that SRC are saying they capped at 40,000, which I mean 40%, which comes to 31,000. So the gross pay as it stands now, although SRC would want the public believe otherwise, is 79,000 shillings, which is taxable.
Dr. Nu,
Yes.
perhaps just to consider this, in its wisdom, SRC says, let's reevaluate your job, and then after that we can talk of remunerating you in proportion to what you do. Do you make sense out of that?
First is, Johnson, I may look at, I want to ask two questions from that front. One is, where is the first evaluation which was done? Because even as we met SRC close to 6 times, we have always requested for, you say you had an evaluation that was done, although county assembly members were not in office. So who did you evaluate in the first place?
Job description based on the law.
If that was the case, then give us that report. Give us because transparency is one of the aspects within the Constitution. It's mandatory that if you are to do some setting within some norms and some values, then you have to make the public and even those entities aware that this was the report.
Yes.
They haven't made any report available, neither to us, nor to the public, and not to any other government agency, that after we did the initial evaluation on the job description, this is what we have. That is one. Second, we gave them the benefit of doubt. One thing is SRC have to be, you know, planning in ahead of time. They are a commission. They are there to set salaries. They know there are new office bearers coming in. It wasn't something that we should have forced it out of them. They should have known that we have evaluated people on a job description that is provided within the Constitution, but once they come in, this evaluation will be required. Yeah. So they never put this into consideration. But even after we gave them that leeway that, okay, fine, go ahead. You think how many do you need? And they said they need 3 months. That was from May.
Yes.
We need 3 months to reevaluate you. And we gave them the benefit of that and said, okay, fine. Although we don't think that there is much of evaluation that ought to be done because our job description is already entailed and entirely given within the law. And if you wanted to evaluate a county assembly member, go and take the evaluation you did for a member of National Assembly, and that would entail. Because even for senators, did they evaluate senators? They didn't. They just took the job description of what was the National Assembly, and because the jobs are entirely the same, that is what they fixed for senators. And we are saying we are entirely the same, only that we are serving the county governments, but we are entirely the same house. So to me, the job description is neither here nor there. But even if we were to give them, then they should have done it, you know, within the time frame that they already requested, and not that we should push them out of, you know,
okay.
The same.
What are the implications of that new proposal of 275,000 per remuneration? What would be the implications on the budget? Why I'm asking that is, look, we are already midstream the year. The county assemblies are on strike. What is to be expected of the government